So I gave my coworker some sourdough starter, and I was trying to explain the process of how, like, I don't think it's a big deal, that especially with keeping it alive, like, I just eyeball it. And she was telling me how I needed to start a series because it's just hard to remember all that information, and there's so much online, it's hard to, like, know what to do and whatnot. So I was thinking about it. My friend has celiac disease and can only eat, like, gluten-free breads and whatnot. So I was thinking maybe I try to make a sourdough starter with gluten-free bread, or gluten-free flour, sorry. I've never done this before. I asked ChatGPT, like, if it was possible. It said it was the same process, just using a different type of flour. I've never used this flour before. I did not ask her which flour is the best. I probably should have done that, but I didn't. And this is actually my second time making it because I already realized that I already cross-contaminated it. So this time, I don't have any flour. I'm going to wash my hands before, and I have a new jar, a spatula. I'm just using a plastic spatula because it's the easiest for me to, like, make sure it's clean and, like, nothing's touching it. And then I have everything I need over on the other counter. So we're gonna go ahead and start day one of this new starter. I'm gonna call him Jeff. I have a starter named Melissa, so completely different names, but when I reference Jeff, it's gonna be our gluten-free sourdough starter that we're using brown rice flour with. So I'm gonna go grab that. Okay, so this is the flour that I'm gonna be using. It's the Anthony's brown rice flour. I got it off Amazon, 5-pound bag for like 20 bucks. Kind of expensive, but whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna place like a third of a cup. You don't want to start with a ton because you're gonna, like, the start of it, you're just adding and discarding so many times. So I would not start with a massive amount. And really you don't need a big jar unless you're actively cooking all the time. So this is gonna be the jar that I try to keep the Jeff in. I like to change jars a lot to kind of keep the jar fresh and clean. So you might see a different jar here and there, but for the most part, we're just gonna be using the same jar. Okay, so flour is in there. What I want to do is add enough water in, and you want to use filtered water, I think, because there's something in, I mean, tap water is gross anyhow, but they always just say filtered water. I don't ask questions. So I'm gonna add, you want to add about the same amount of water as there is in flour, but honestly you'll just see it and know when it's right just by looking at it. You want it to be like a pancake batter, so just make sure it's nice and pancake battery, I guess. Like this, that's too thick. Like, there's no movement to it, so I'm just add a little bit more. And I just go a little at a time. That's why I keep it on my counter, because it just stays room temperature. It doesn't need to be room temperature. It just kind of helps it along if it is room temperature. And like I said, I'm not tripping about it too much. If it's a little runny, it is a little runny. If it's a little stiff, it's a little stiff. I don't think it really matters all that much. But what you want is to make sure it is well incorporated, especially at the beginning. And it's not going to do anything for a couple days. For the first couple days, it's not going to do a damn thing. It'll start to smell like ass. I don't know. It'll stink. I remember my first sourdough starter, I thought I killed it because it smelled like a foot. Nope, it was just the process. If it stinks, it's fine. I've never made a gluten-free sourdough starter, so I'm hoping that maybe it won't have as much as a smell, but knowing my luck, it's going to smell worse. Okay, so if you can see, this is kind of the consistency I have. It's pretty thick, but it has some movement to it. I actually like to keep mine a little bit thicker than that, but it is what it is. So day one, I'm not gonna put anything on the sides. It's not gonna rise. It's not gonna do anything but just sit there. And then I'm just gonna lightly put on a lid or something. They have like jars that are specifically made for sourdough, but I'm not spending $20 on a damn jar. I'm just gonna get the normal like $20 pack of like 6 or whatever these mason jars are, and I don't even know where the lids are. And honestly, for the first little bit, because I wanted to have some air, and I'm really bad about accidentally closing things, I'm just gonna, this is what I did the last time, is that way nothing can get in it, no flies or anything like that, but it can have some air. I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is what I do, and it worked the last time, so if it works for me, cool. Once again, this series is, it's not meant to be like a series I'm trying to get views on. It is specifically for my best friend and my coworker. If you get something out of it, that's great. If you don't, then cool. I'm gonna reference it as a he, she thing because it's a living thing. So Jeff here is just gonna sit on my counter. I'm gonna make sure he's away from any flour or anything else. I fed Melissa and I've put her in the fridge. She is not going to be active while I start this process because I don't want any chances of cross-contamination because I've already fucked that up. So for the first couple days, we'll discard half and then add in more than what's in there. I'll go through that tomorrow when we do day 2. And then I think like 3 or 4 days in, we'll do it 2 times a day just so that we can get some more activity we might have a false rise where it'll rise and then it'll fall, but you want it to be able to double in size. So at that point, in a couple days, I'll probably start putting a rubber band, or like I use expo markers on mine a lot because I don't know where rubber bands are and I have 2 toddlers that take off with them. So I'll put something on there, that way I can see where it started and then where it like rose up to. And usually I try to keep the sides a little bit cleaner than that so I can see it, but right now I really don't care because it's day 1 and it's not going to do anything anyhow. So I'm going to go put Jeff away from anything that could cross-contaminate it, and he's going to sit by himself on the counter until tomorrow. I do plan on trying to get a couple days in and then putting them together so that maybe if you actually are following along, you don't have to like go through all my videos, and that as I progress later on, getting closer to making something, those will be separate so that, you know, there's the sourdough starting process and there's like keeping it alive and then using it all separately. I don't know what I'm doing. This is just, I'm very much of a fuck it person, and if it works, it works. If it's hard, I'm not gonna do it. I'm lazy. I don't wanna do things the hard way, but I like having sourdough. So this is my process. Follow along if you want, don't if you don't. So until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Sedona, come on. Sedona, come here. You okay? No, do you need help? No. So what we want to do is we're going to discard half of what's in here. Honestly, I'm just going to discard about half. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to scoop out like half or more. And then we're going to put more than what's left in here of the flour. And we're going to do that for the next couple days. Oh, she stinks. She smells. The best way I can describe is sour, but she's not ready. But this is what she looks like today. A little runny, which is good. Runny is a good sign, especially after it's sat for a while. So I'm going to discard quite a bit. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but that's how much I have left. It's pretty much just enough to swirl around and put the bottom. And I'm probably going to change jars tomorrow, just so we can see it better. And then I'm going to go in with our flour, maybe. There we go. Feeling tomorrow we'll start seeing a little bit. I do see a little bit of bubbles, so tomorrow we'll probably see a little bit more action. So I can put her day 3. Yeah, I can probably put her in a new jar just so we can kind of see what's going on. But as you can see, it's really clumpy, it's really dry. So now I'm just going to add in some water. I'm just going to eyeball it until it's at pancake consistency. So when you have a really runny starter, you don't want to put as much water in. So that's why I just say it's just so much easier to eyeball it. Like I might have put too much water, so I'm going to probably end up having to add more flour. What I've noticed is that this flour does not incorporate as well, so you have to stir it way more than you would like normal flour. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to sprinkle a little in. Yeah, I did add too much water. Okay, she's nice and thick. That is what we're working with. She's not moving. I would like it a little bit runnier, but I'm still trying to figure out this this flour. It is definitely a different consistency than I'm used to. So learning curve for me. And now that it's starting to look a little bit more active and getting less bubbles, I do not want to put any of this down my sink. So when you discard, you want to make sure that you're putting it in the trash can, and any of your remnants of it, you're cleaning off before it goes in your sink. And you want to make sure that none of it gets in there. So I'm just going to set that aside so I can hand wash it and close the rest. I think I'm going to get a jar that I can just set the lid on for the next jar for tomorrow. So I'll make sure everything's clean then. But let me see then. That was more than half. I just thought I was throwing it in an empty trash can. I'm glad I wrapped it up in like 3 bags. Honestly, this one crust over a whole lot faster and easier than the other one. I'll definitely be able to tell if it raises. Oh, shit. This is the morning of day 4 of our sourdough journey, and I just want to show you that is the line from yesterday. So this is what I would consider a false rise because it hasn't doubled in size, but it is rising. So we're on the right track. I think a couple more feedings and she'll be good to go. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. She's starting to deflate. I don't know if she's quite ready yet. It's only like day 4, so I'm not gonna say yes, but this is a really good sign. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing with discarding half and then filling it up, and then we'll just see how she reacts. She smells better. She doesn't smell disgusting. It smells like flour, so that's a good sign. So we'll just do it and see what we get tomorrow, because I am curious. I'm not used to seeing this many bubbles, and I kind of want to see what happens when I stir it. It's very interesting texture. I'm not sure if you're able to see this. I'm used to seeing stringy, so I'm not going to say that she's active yet because this is just not the texture I'm used to, but I don't know if that's also because of the flour. So we're just going to continue ahead. Usually it takes about 7 days to see anything actually activate with normal, so alright, we're gonna leave about that much in. That's probably way more than half, but screw it. Where's the line again? So she's still open. Just gonna screw her on. Let her vent. Alright, see you tomorrow. That is what I call an active starter. Ooh. Yep, there's enough. I'm very curious on this. I know it's not going to act like normal sourdough, but I'm still very curious to see how it reacts. It said it's not going to rise either like normal sourdough would, but it needs to sit out for 4 to 6 hours. I guess we'll wait and see how it turns out. I'm curious, for sure. I don't want to knock all the air out of it. I was gonna make this in a Dutch oven, but I don't think I'm going to now that I'm looking at it. It's not like a dough. Like, you know how sourdough is like a firm dough? You know how like sourdough is like a firm dough? This is the best way I can describe this texture is like a paste. This is like what you would expect, like I guess like normal dough that you bake, just not sourdough. I guess I'm just so used to sourdough now. See a little design to them. We shall see. I think it needs to rest for like 30 minutes. So it did say that it was gonna be dense and that it was best toasted. There is air bubbles and it has like a nice like crack. It's just so dense that I can't tell if it's done or not. I cooked it for 50 minutes in total, but it did say an optional 5 to 10 out of the pan. So I'm thinking it probably needed that. I'm hoping by toasting it, it'll be fine, but we'll wait and see. I will say it's incredibly hard to get out of the toaster. But okay, I'm gonna try this piece. This is the middle piece with just a little butter and flaky salt like I normally would. Cheers. I don't know if you can see that, but it's incredibly, it looks really dense, but it's like super airy in this little portion. It tastes like sourdough. I feel like the olive oil made it like really flat, but I think it added for it to not dry out because you can see the top's all dry. So I think that the olive oil helped keep it moist inside. I think I would, if I was to do this again with the gluten-free sourdough, I would cook it for 50 minutes in the pan, and then I would take it out probably and leave it like just the loaf in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes separately. I baked it at 45 minutes in the pan and then 5 minutes separately. So I think I would do the full 50 and then another 5 to 10, probably 10, just to make sure it's completely cooked, just because it is so dense. But honestly, as somebody who doesn't eat gluten-free bread like ever, because I don't have to and I don't necessarily want to, it's not bad. I will definitely eat this entire loaf for sure by myself. If my kids don't want it or my husband doesn't want it, that's fine. I will eat this gladly. Pretty proud.